and welcome back to my channel. This week we are continuing our body type series, and we have one type out of the last two types left to discuss this week. I also want to start off just by saying thank you so much for everyone who has been commenting on these videos, who's been subscribing, who's been liking my videos. I really appreciate your encouragement and your feedback and your support, especially as a new YouTuber who is venturing into this for the first time. So this week we have the natural that's left. The natural is going to be a little bit more on the yang side of the scale. They do have a little bit of the yin coming out in various places, but generally they're going to be more yang than yin. We have two subcategories of this type. Number one would be the flamboyant natural, which borrows a yang undercurrent from the dramatic type. And then we have the soft natural, which borrows a yin undercurrent from the romantic type. The naturals are going to have very straight and blunt bones. Their bones are typically going to be broader and more on the wide side. Their shoulders are going to be broad. Their limbs are typically going to be long. Their hands and their feet are generally also going to be on the larger side, and they're also going to be a little bit squarish. The natural is going to have very blunt bone structure and not as sharp. They're also typically going to have very pronounced facial bones, but their facial bones are not going to be super sharp. They're going to be more on the blunt side. The flamboyant natural is very similar. They also have these very broad, very blunt and angular bone structure. They are also going to have larger hands and feet and longer limbs. They're also going to have wide shoulders. And an interesting thing about the flamboyant natural is that they're typically going to have very long fingers and toes. The flamboyant's bone structure might be a slightly more sharp than a typical natural body type because they have that undercurrent that they borrowed from the dramatic type. Now, the soft natural is going to have more slightly angular bones. They're going to be slightly squarish in shape. They're going to be a little bit less broad, but they're still going to have more of a broad bone structure than, say, like a bohemian or romantic. They're also going to have broad shoulders. They're going to typically have moderate to short limbs, and they're going to generally have moderately sized hands and feet that are going to tend to be on the fleshier side. Their facial contours are going to be less pronounced than the natural or the flamboyant natural. The naturals are generally on the taller side. They can generally be up to 5 feet and 5 inches. The flamboyant naturals, on the other hand, are generally very tall. They are usually not any shorter than 5 feet 5 inches, and typically they do stay on the tall side. The soft naturals, however, are going to be on the short side, so they generally don't get any taller than 5 feet and 7 inches. The natural's body is going to be very straight and very muscular. They are going to have a very lean look to their bodies. They're not going to be super fleshy. They're going to be fairly flat in their hip area and slightly flat in the bust area. They're not going to have a very defined waistline, but they are going to have generally a very long waist. The flamboyant natural is going to be also very straight and very muscular, and they are going to be even more extreme in that straightness, so much so that they're going to have practically no definition in their hips or their bust in general. They are also going to typically have very muscular arms and legs. Now, the soft naturals are going to be definitely more on the curvy side. They're going to have a more defined waistline. They're going to be slightly larger in the bust and hip area, though they're not going to be overly curvy. They're going to have that hourglass shape, but it's going to be definitely more of a soft hourglass and not a very defined hourglass shape. They're also going to be a little bit more fleshy in their upper arm and thigh area. The naturals are going to possess very broad facial features. Their bone structure is going to be pronounced but blunt and not super sharp. They're going to typically have moderately sized to small eyes, and they're also going to typically have straight thin lips and taut cheeks. The flamboyant natural is going to possess all of these qualities, But there's one thing that's interesting about the flamboyant natural. Their eyes are either going to be very large or they're going to be very small and narrow. There's generally no in between for the flamboyant natural. The soft natural facial bones are going to be a lot less pronounced. They're going to have more soft cheeks, they're going to have larger eyes, they're also going to have fuller lips, and their facial features just aren't going to be as extreme and angular in general. So some keywords to think about if you are a natural and you are looking for clothes to suit your body type are free-spirited, earthy, bohemian, casual, effortless, fresh and fun. You basically want to go for a vibe that's going to give off just this effortless, maybe slightly minimalist feel. So whenever you're looking for clothing, generally you're going to want to look for fits that are more relaxed as a natural type. Naturals are not going to want to do anything that's super structured and tailored. They're going to want to look for fits that are loose but not super loose. You want to stick to minimal details. Naturals do really great with earthy textures, things like leather or copper or like textured silver. On a natural, definitely less is more. Naturals have this effortlessness and this earthiness to their body that you don't want to overwhelm with too much detail. Naturals can do things with soft geometric shapes and cuts. They can do open necklines, and they can do really nice textured fabrics. The chunky sweaters and scarves are going to look really great on a natural. Because you have the free-spirited vibe, but then you also have the earthy vibe, you can do bright colors and fun colors, but you can also do very nice earthy colors and neutrals. Some things to avoid as a natural type. Anything that is on the extreme end of the scale. Basically, anything that's overly feminine or overly masculine. You're going to want to stay away from super frilly feminine pieces or anything that has way too many structured straight lines to it. You want to avoid things that are super edgy, extreme statement pieces like the dramatics might wear. You also want to avoid too much detail like I mentioned earlier. So anything like ornate jewelry or pattern pieces that have a lot of detail on them or super detailed embroidery is not going to be the best bet for a natural because it's just going to look overwhelming on you. Another thing to avoid would be a monochromatic outfit. Naturals don't do well with monochromatics just because it looks too dull and drab. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's all I have on the natural type, and I hope this was helpful if you are a natural and you're looking for some different style ideas. And just like I've mentioned in all my other videos, I just want to clarify for anyone who may be watching for the first time, these are all just suggestions. I'm not saying you have to dress one way or another. Fashion is for fun, and I just want to give you some ideas and things to think about if you are looking for inspiration for your body type. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.